This is, forgot what date, this is March 26th meeting of Community Preservation Committee, Bridgewater. We have present myself, Chair Gina Gasconi, Carlton Hunt, Vice Chair Harry Bailey, Jeff Merriman, Maureen Medation, Pat Driscoll, and Bill Smith. We also have guests so far online, Blythe Robinson, our acting town manager, Janet Hanson. Call to order at 6:31. Chair's announcements. I don't have much, but as always, I think of things later. Hopefully not. Just want to say I sound like a broken record when I encourage members to read the coalition's newsletter. I find it lots of valuable information. And this year, 2025, marks 25 years of CPA success. The current newsletter, which came out, I believe, 2 weeks ago, had some great information. One thing I found most helpful was the state has released the CP2 information. CP2 is what's filed by the town on our behalf for our expenditures, how much income we had in. That goes back a number of years. So it's interesting to see. So again, I suggest that everybody, if you can read it, subscribe to it. I know a lot of you already do. One thing that came out, we'll discuss more when we get to the financial part, but the coalition advises per the state when we prepare our FY26 budget to estimate a 15.9% match. And I think that's it for my comments. Other than I thank everybody for being here tonight. Next, public comments. No public comments. Okay, approval of minutes from February 26, 2025. They went out with Josh's agenda packet, I believe, last Thursday.
Has everybody had a chance to read it?
I did.
Good.
I've read it. I have no comments. I move that we accept the minutes.
Second it.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing Josh, roll call.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill. Bill, you're on mute. The motion was approved.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Item E, moving right along, financial report as of February 28th. And I'd like to thank Ashley from the finance office and Laurie Garini for getting us the report so promptly. It's much appreciated. You can see that we're still ahead of anticipated income. The real estate surcharge and interest specifically. So we still have another tax date, May 1st, which will increase that more. if you look at the expense budget to actual, there's a couple of accounts, the town hall roofing project, which we should close out tonight, with a vote to accept the final report. And that's basically it for there. Well, as we get to the individual updates, we can talk more on that. Looking,
Gina, can I ask you a quick question on the financial
Okay.
update?
it doesn't have the reimbursement for Styles and Hart yet.
No, I guess
Okay.
just looking at the revenue budget to actual, and maybe it's just the way my brain works, but when we anticipated nothing for earnings on investment, and we've received 88,976 in income, why is it showing a negative 88,000? Wouldn't that be a surplus, not a deficit?
That used to be my question all the time too. It's reversed. So what we would think is actually a negative, a deficit is actually a positive.
It's how, Pat, it's how municipal accounting goes. It's
All
slightly
right,
different.
well, I was looking at that earlier, and I said, because it's showing like state revenue, for example, we budgeted 100, but 170 came in. So that would be a budget surplus, but we're actually showing a budget negative.
Well,
Right.
in municipal, it's showing a budget positive in the municipal accounting system.
And then
You just have to change your mind.
And then the balance sheet for CPC. So we have the first line item is 1.517 million, right?
Mhm.
That's stuff that we've already appropriated to projects that hasn't been spent yet, but it's still in the fund. It's still in the grand total. So if we remove that, we really have somewhere around 2.5 available today for projects. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. 2.4.
Roughly.
But again, some of that 1.5 doesn't factor in state grants that we'll be getting back for like Styles and Hart, which are around 500,000 and things, and the potential coming in under budget of Styles and Hart, that will get, so we're probably closer to like 3 or something, or more than that. We've talked about that before, correct?
Correct.
We're just waiting. Do we know where that grant is for Styles and Hart?
We
We'll
do
talk about
with
it a little bit.
this. Laurie Green is on top of it. She's found and she notified us recently. There's a few more things that need to be done at Styles and Hart before the state accepts it and releases the grant. One of is signage, and she wasn't sure the other things, but there are some final things that need to be completed. And once that's set and the state approves it, she can submit for the reimbursement, and we should get it.
And I ask
And-
this
and
all
we-
the time, but just to be clear,
Mhm.
Yeah, and just jumping in here, just to be clear, we expect full reimbursement of the entire 485,000.
Right.
We haven't heard anything different.
but I just always want to make sure that 1.517 that we have allocated towards projects does not include the anticipated receipt of that money. So that'll actually be reduced, and that'll be money coming back in. So we're really over the 2.5.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Plus, as I said, the townhouse roof project is almost 10,000. That will be coming back to CPC as well, coming back to our coffers.
Got 9775 that's available.
Correct. What we have to look at is the council approved last week.
Well, actually, why you're there for a second, Gina? So that
Sure.
thing, Styles and Hart improvements. So we've only spent 356,000 on that.
No, that's this year. That's just this fiscal year.
So it says fiscal year 2025 budget amount,
Yeah.
1.91 million,
Right.
1.091.
Right.
They spent almost,
Fiscal 25 actual is 356. So you're saying the project's almost complete. Why do we still have 734 in the bank?
it's about
It's-
85,000. It's about 85% done. There is a holdup on the trails that they can't finish because of a situation we've spoken about before. That 735 is all the money that's left in the account. We expect back the 480,000 and maybe some further engineering costs.
Right, but that
When
730,
finished, we'll get that finished.
but that 734 doesn't count the 485. So that's 734. How much of that do we bill to the contractor? Do we have any idea?
I just submitted a bill for, Josh, do you remember how much that was for Ramco?
It was 27 and change. I can look up the exact amount if you'd like.
Okay,
I mean, I think when the bids came in, they were much lower than anticipated. So I'm hoping some of that 734 comes back to us as well. That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
it
On
will.
top of,
We
on top of
started
the 485.
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to talk over you.
No, it's all right.
We awarded the 1.3. We started FY 25 with 1,091, so we spent close to 200,000 last year in fiscal 24. This year, a million, roughly 1.1 billion we've spent with the 356 plus the 27 that we just approved, call it another 400,000. So, and you're right, I believe the bid came in for way less
I
than
think-
what was.
I
what was
think the bid came in way under. So, all right. But I just want to make sure I understand what I'm looking at. That's all right. Thank you.
Pat,
Yeah.
Pat, to help you a little bit, I did some figuring on this, and this is just me thinking forward. We may expect to see up to somewhere between 900,000 back and maybe 950,000,
Yeah,
something like that.
That's what I was figuring. So that's great. So that's another. So that's another $1 million that we potentially have between the 485 and that. So good. All right. Thank you.
Correct. Okay, great. Good question.
I just want, just as we think about other projects tonight, it's deceiving that we only have 2.5 million when we potentially are closer to 3.5. That's all.
And
Right.
Pat, just to remind you, and maybe some of the public to understand, that 2.5 million, that 4 million that's unallocated right now is everything there, including the reserves. For example, in the balance sheet, the reserve balance for CPA, the reserve for open space is $220,000.
Yeah.
That's an open space. And then the reserve that's already in there for historic preservation is 580,000. That money can't be spent towards, let's say, recreation, that kind of thing. So
That's why we're funding the undesignated as heavy as we can. So
Correct. And one thing to note too, that the council approved this week for an extra $4,600 for the Parthenon freeze. And that's not taken out yet because it was done in March. And also the Edson book hasn't been recommended by the council yet. It's due for their second reading, I believe, next week. So that's, I don't know, another 14,000 or so, 15,000 that will come off. Okay, any other questions on the financial sheets? Okay, thank you. Old business applications received. Hanson's Farm, you received the application. It's been the revised application. We had received an application a while ago. This one has pricing and more details to it. And I'm glad, and I'm sure all of us are glad at the Hansons, it's finally coming to fruition. I was looking back at some old meetings, and it was just about 3 years ago that we started the process. So I'm glad it's coming to fruition. And
Gina, could I interrupt in a minute and just say,
Sure.
Can I share my screen and walk the committee through the costs?
Yep.
Now I just have to figure out how to do that.
At the bottom in the middle. There you go.
Now, what do we see? Do you see? Are you
Yep.
seeing the proposal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we received this signed document. Basically, the total project cost is $3,034,138, of which the town is requesting that CPC provide $32,138. And there's other funding sources. The one we know about is the MVP grant for $3 million, and then there's $2,000 of match that the town was able to go put against the match because people worked on the CR and other things after that. So that's just the cost that we can use against the match. So we're just showing the total project cost. So in this case, we're something a little bit less than 1% of the total project is CPA direct funding. This is a breakdown of the funds. I'm looking at the project expenses. We have the other funding here. The equipment costs, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is $9,500 that's being requested. And then there's design and contracts for $22,638. That sums to the $32,138 that we may recommend to the town council appropriate. And this is just the personnel time that I talked to otherwise. And I'm jumping down all the way down here to design and contracts. Well, first of all, the 9,500 is signage. We put money in there because there will need to be some signage for the funding organizations. We put money in there as part of the match. And then the trails, that's a material cost that the Hansons have requested, at least materials for potentially installing a bog bridge, and there's some wetlands area, that kind of thing. So we put an estimate in there for a couple $1,000s. So for equipment, which is a bit of a misnomer, but that's basically, if you look way down at the fine print there, it generally is defined as an item that has a long time useful life expectancy. And then, so that's $9,500. And then the design and contracts for the recording fees that we put in, towns put in $1,500. The Wildlands Trust, who will hold the conservation restriction, has asked for some funding for their the work that they do on the project, plus some other reports that they have to write. That's $17,138. And then there's an environmental site assessment. That's basically looking for contamination, that kind of thing. And we anticipate spending about up to $4,000 on a firm to come in and look and make sure everything's okay and environmentally sound. So that gives it, that part's $22,638. And basically, there are goals that we have in the community preservation plan for passive recreation. There's a couple of goals there: preserve farms and agriculture, preserve and acquire strategic private open space. Those are goals in our preservation plan that we just voted. The open space plan of 2017 has a number of places that they indicate preservation of working farms, et cetera. So that's in there. And finally, the municipal vulnerability plan, protection plan, also has an agricultural land continue to implement open space and rec plan. So in case anybody questions our guidance on this, it's in 3 plans that the town has in terms of acquiring this property. And that the last thing on the committee is the open space committee back in February of 2024, a year ago, actually put a letter in supporting the project. That's in a nutshell what we're trying to do. We're buying the conservation restriction that actually is purchasing the development rights. That was the town appraised the land, and the appraisal came back and we couldn't pay anything more than that. And then the town applied for the MPV grant. Thankfully somebody was thinking ahead, and the town received that grant back in August of this year. The other thing is a purchase and sale had to be signed in time for that grant. That purchase and sale has been signed for probably 7 or 8 months now, 9 months. And I'm going to leave it at that and let the committee ask questions.
Thank you, Carlton, for great explanation of the application. Are there any questions from CPC members?
Yeah, can I just ask, I mean, I think we've talked about this so much. I mean, I think it's a great thing. It's a no-brainer with just 1%. So, but just real quick, Carlton, can you go down? So I just looked up because before the planning board, we had the Form A come through.
Yep.
And I just checked it. I was just on the Plymouth County website. It is recorded in Plan Book 68, page 865. But if you keep going down, can you keep going
Oh,
down?
you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't go far enough. Oh,
So can you show that whole plan, so minimize it so we can see the whole plan?
you know, I've struggled with getting that smaller because.
Well, it's all right. So see this lot B that we're looking at right now? See lot B right there? See lot B?
Right here.
Yeah. So that was modified. That's why we had the Form A before us. This isn't the signed plan. The signed plan is recorded though. So I just wanted to make sure this was the same plan that was recorded. Now keep going down. Keep going down.
How far?
Go all the way. Go to the CR plan right there.
Oh, right,
Stop.
right. Okay.
So what happened was that they didn't modify see the blue line?
Yep.
There should be land added to the back of that. So that red line showing the boundaries of the CR is not accurate based on the Form A that they submitted. So, I mean, I'm in favor of this. I'd vote for it tonight, but I just think that one of the conditions along with the CR is the CR plan needs to match the Form A plan.
Well, and I will also point out the Form A plan that you dealt with this property here. Included in the conservation restrictions is
Is that over there?
this
Right.
2 acre triangle.
Well, and then, all right, and then first, so you keep going. It also, see this big square in the back?
Yeah.
That's also not on the Form A. So which is fine, but that front lot, that CR property bound line needs to be adjusted around that blue line in the final version, because otherwise it's gonna.
So Pat, what are you saying? Is that the blue lines here should be smaller?
No, bigger. So go back up. So that's just a rectangle, right? So go up. You see how the rectangle now has
Yeah,
that?
that's all this stuff here.
No. It's a rectangle on that CR map. See that back dog leg, the 150? See that 150 in the back?
I'm really slow finding stuff.
Do you see where, you know where the cows are?
Yeah, right here.
Right. No. You know where the barn, go to the barn, Carlton. Do you know where the barn is?
It's right here,
All right, so
This is the
behind
barn.
the barn, see that piece behind the barn?
right here.
That was added.
Yeah.
That was added to lot B. So now go down to the CR plan.
Can I jump in for a second?
You
Everyone?
may.
Sure.
Hi, Blythe Robinson, and nice to meet you finally, Pat, in person, so to speak. I don't know everybody else, but I just want to jump in. We have a meeting with the attorney for the Hansons tomorrow. We have provided a slightly different looking plan to the state for the CR. And I will check tomorrow about making sure that the plans all align. I certainly understand what's being said. I don't have it in front of me to look at or to share with you, but the state asked for a very specifically laid out plan. And I just want to make sure for everybody's sake that it's the correct one for all purposes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so Mr. Robinson, that when they came before us, I guess the state, and maybe Mrs. Hanson can explain it better, but when they came before us, they came before us with a Form A to approve, and they modified, I think because that was like where they actually worked the cows or something like that. So that got added to that small piece in the back got removed from the land that was going to have the conservation restriction on it. So I'm not making a big deal out of it.
Sure.
I'm going to vote for it tonight, but I think the final version, the CR plan needs to match
Of course,
that lot B line.
I understand. I just wanted to
Agreed.
let you
And
know
let
we're
me
working
just
on it.
explain. Let me explain. The Hansons pulled this out of the CR because they may want to put a building or do some other work there. That's why that was pulled out of the CR.
Right.
But
And
I
I'm
believe,
concerned, and that's,
I believe the acreage, Pat, I believe the acreage is correct.
And that's fine. I just wanted to point that out that we don't want to have we don't want to have conflict later on. It's an easy fix now. Just make sure we fix it before it's done. That's all.
Thank you.
Gina,
Yes, Josh.
Janet just messaged me and said that David would like to speak.
Okay, David, go right ahead. Welcome to our meeting tonight.
Thank you. That is accurate that we have plans to put up a shop or a machine shed in that square that we added to the Form A. Okay? Lot B. Lot B. Lot B, okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. And then we have one other item that we'd like to mention tonight with regard to wood processor, which is behind the concrete staves silo, the bunker silo that's to the left, to the right of the cow barn. We'd
didn't
like
hear
to pour a cement pad there to mount the wood processor on to keep it out of the mud and make it a little easier for our help to work. And we wanted to make sure that there was no problem with that. It's going to be about a 40 by 15 or 40 by 20 pad. And we didn't want to do it without bringing it to your attention to make sure it was okay.
Hey, David, is that going to be in Lot B?
No, it's not. It's going to be to the left of Lot B as we look at it from here. To the right, if you look at it from the street.
We'll
bunker-
probably
the
talk
bunker
about that
stuff-
tomorrow at
The
the,
bunker silo is on the CR, and it's going to be right behind the bunker silo, which is what
I
the
don't see-
big cement structure that we have all the firewood in.
You know, Gina, I don't think we want to get into that tonight. I mean, that's part, if the CR allows it, it doesn't allow it, that's up to them. I mean, right?
Right, right.
We didn't want to not let it be known what we would like to do.
Okay,
Okay.
David, I think that can, and Blythe can further comment on this. I think that's something.
I think that, I mean,
is-
we have a draft CR the state has reviewed. You know, if that hasn't been brought up, we'll talk about it tomorrow when we meet with Attorney Pellegrini. And then, and if everyone's in agreement and Wildlands Trust thinks the state will find it acceptable, we can put it in, send it back to the state and let them know we want to change that. I'm not an expert in those things, so I don't want to opine that I know it will be okay.
And
Right.
looking ahead, if we vote this tonight, whatever goes before the town council will have all the updated figures and that kind of thing, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and the council will vote on final everything.
Yeah, so they'll introduce it on the 8th of April is the plan, and then hopefully they can then vote on the second reading on April 22nd.
Okay,
You have anything else?
Great. Okay. Before we move on, we have someone on here, Joanne. Just looking to see, Joanne, if you could identify yourself. You're on mute.
Hi, my name is
Hey.
Joanne, and I'm a student at Curry College, and one of my assignment was to attend a meeting in my town, and oh, I don't know, can you hear me?
I can, and thank you so much, and I welcome you.
Oh, thank you,
I'm happy you chose that committee.
thank you, thank you.
And if you have any questions, be sure to speak up.
Sure, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Joanne. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Moving on back to the Hanson's Farm application.
so Gina, I would like to offer a motion.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so I spent quite a bit of time today communicating and working on this. And the motion, I don't know if you can see it entirely, but I
Yeah,
put
we can.
together a motion that I will read, and then if the committee, well, let me put it this way. I move that we, the Community Preservation Committee recommend Bridgewater Town Council appropriate $32,138, take it from the CPA account 324100, it's the open space reserve, to support the acquisition of the development rights of 71.79 acres of the Hanson Family Trust Farm, 600 Pleasant Street, Bridgewater, Massachusetts, as delineated in the planning board approved Form A dated 26 February 2025, and the signed purchase and sales agreement effective September 2024, and funded primarily with municipal vulnerability grant, CT Environment MV PAC PACTION 041 Bridgewater 25, awarded 8/19/2024 for a state approved conservation restriction. And that was submitted on January 29th, the draft on 25. The CPC further recommends the town council appropriate $3 million from Bridgewater's 2024-2029 capital improvement plan, project number 192.66 Hanson Farm Preservation CPC, for the purchase, which will be reimbursed under the MVP grant award. The recommended CPA funds support the state's required 1% match and include funding for signage, public access trail material, production of an environmental assessment report and a baseline report, and the stewardship endowment costs for the conservation restriction holder, Wildlands Trust, Plymouth, Massachusetts. That's my motion.
I'll second that just for discussion, Carlton.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
So my concern though, Carlton, is you referenced the Form A plan, which is a recorded plan that only shows 56 acres, but yet the conservation restrictions on 73. So the Form A plan doesn't capture the entire conservation restriction. The Form A plan only deals with removing the structures in the site for the new structure off the large piece, and it leaves 56 acres roughly. I believe the entire CR is 73 acres in the application. So
71.79.
what's that?
It's 71.79.
All right, 71 point. So I just think that language, I don't want to put the council in a box where it's just we're voting.
That's fine, Pat. If you want to offer an amendment for the words, I'm happy to put it in.
Just a friendly suggestion. Do we need to reference the Form A plan at all?
Right, and do we? Yeah, and do we need to reference where the money's coming from out of the capital fund and the MVP? I just don't. I don't want to make it so complicated that it doesn't give the council flexibility to get it done timely.
Well, I disagree with you. I think it needs to be there as a motion, just showing where all the money's coming from.
Okay, so
That's up to the committee.
Well, I mean, couldn't we say that you move to have the community preservation appropriate 32,138 taken from CPC account 324,100 open space reserve to support the acquisition of the development rights for 71.79 acres of the Hanson Trust Farm. I don't think we need to say how it's delineated and then say utilizing the MVP grant of $3 million in addition to this, and just to try to simplify it. I mean, are you sure it's coming out of the capital improvement plan project number? Are you sure all those numbers are right?
It's going to come out of a grant account that Lori will create specifically for this, because we have a contract with the state of Massachusetts MVP plan. We'll pay it out of that, and then at the end of June or the first week or so in July, we will submit, after we've paid it to the trust, we will then submit a reimbursement. So I don't think you have to be as specific as that.
right, can I'm going to amend Pat's amendment. And
He hasn't made an amendment.
I'm just discussing it. I mean, I can make an amendment if you'd like.
okay, to go along with your discussion, Pat, I think if we pull out, because I don't want to box us in, if it's not coming from a 2024, 2029 capital account, just leave it as the CPC further recommends the town council appropriate $3 million for the purchase, which will be reimbursed under the MVP grant award. So leave out that whole part about with towns taking that $3 million from. Because Laurie, from what Blythe just said, sounds like Laurie may not, she's in.
Well, I mean, if it's important to this CPC to reference that it's in our capital plan, I guess you can leave it. But the real funding source is just the MVP grant.
Yeah, what I'm gonna, I hear you. I've removed the stuff that Pat talked about, and that is that okay for the committee? And then basically, if funded primarily with the municipal vulnerability grant awarded, and leave it. We can leave it at that.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer in telling the council exactly what's going on in a motion from CPC. We have a responsibility to do that. I don't want to, I'm sure that they will be very happy to use $3 million of a grant fund for this project. But I think it's important that the public understand where that's coming from.
Do we know for sure it's coming from though?
It's coming from that grant award.
Oh, I understand.
So Carlton, after January 29, 2025, why couldn't you just delete the CPC further recommends the town council appropriate $3 million?
Blythe, I'm going to go back to you in terms of an order before the town council. If it's not important to the public to know that that's where the money's coming from, that's fine.
Well,
I
I'm
going to finish, please.
Well,
I just think this council needs to understand what's going on.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Carlton, if you want to be more specific. We will have an order before the council that will say where the money will come from. So you can say it here again if that is how you like to structure these and operate. But I think you can go either way.
And I'm with the Carlton. I just want to make sure it's right. And because we have a timeline. So I don't want to put the council in a position where if it's 71.8 acres and not 71.79 and that project number 19266 is wrong, I don't want them to have to come back to us for another recommendation. I'm trying to get
that's already out of there. It's out of there now. The 71.79 is what's in the conservation restriction.
Correct, but I think what Pat's saying, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong.
The application says 73, right? When I looked at it yesterday. I get it. I just want to make sure that if something needs to be tweaked or a line gets tweaked a little bit, we give the town and the council flexibility. That's all.
The only flexibility they have in reality is whether or not under CPA, they can reduce our funding, they can deny it, or they can accept it. That's the three options the town council has for CPA funding.
Do they have the flexibility to say the $3 million is coming from that 2024-2029 capital improvement plan and take it from someplace else? I don't want to tie us into that's where it has to come from.
Okay, we can delete that. We can delete that directly. That's not a problem. Blythe has already indicated, and the record minutes will show that the order that goes before the town council will identify all the funding.
So
that's just a recommendation we're making. That the town council is under no obligation to follow this recommendation. We are just appropriating $32,138
Right,
for
but we
right.
also, Bill, we also need them to appropriate 3 million for the matching grant. Because if they don't appropriate 3 million, we don't have 3 million in CPC to cover it.
Well,
So-
I'm sure, absolutely. But I mean, they've been involved in these discussions and these negotiations for months. They're very well aware that the town is going to have to come up with $3 million, which will then be reimbursed by the MVP grant. I mean, we're not instructing them to do something. We're just recommending.
Okay, how about if we take,
I'm not trying to I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure that, so maybe Mrs. Robinson can confirm. Is this the process? Will it come out of the capital improvement plan?
No,
And
it's
then-
gonna, no, we're gonna because we have an actual contract with the state for the grant, we will set up a separate account for the 3 million. We will pay for it out of there, and then we will get reimbursed by the state. So the town will be whole.
So Carlton, can we take that out? So it says the CPC further recommends the
Mhm.
council.
right, and what I can do after we take a vote tonight, what I do is I send it to the town manager to have it put onto the council agenda. I can make note that it also goes along with the town. I don't know, I'll word it better than this, but basically the other part of this is that the town recommend that the town approve and appropriate $3 million. So I can add that sentence into my letter. So
And
it's not-
Carlton, the conservation restriction isn't approved yet, right?
No. We're
So
working-
you have a date in there of January 29th, 2025. We should remove that. It says state approved conservation restriction and then the date. Are we sure it was submitted then? And there's not
Yes.
are we sure there's not a different version?
There will be a final version as soon as we finish it. That's why we have a meeting tomorrow.
How about Carlton, before the submitted, just put draft submitted. For the CR.
I don't know where you want that.
Okay, yeah, under where, right where you are, state approved conservation restriction submitted, not there. Same line, what you have submitted January 29th, just make it say draft submitted.
Yeah, so I think this is fine now. I mean, I just didn't want to put the council in a tough spot where they said this isn't what CPC recommended.
And I don't
So-
want the CPC put in a hard spot because we didn't provide the right information.
Correct.
Now, if there's a meeting potentially tomorrow about the lines, are we sure the 71.79 is accurate?
I'm very confident
in the
about 71.79. I think I didn't know about the concrete pad. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that. And I want to make sure that the map aligns exactly with what the state is requiring and what the town has.
Okay.
And I believe I took the 71.79 directly from the CR.
Yep.
Okay,
Right, but, and I agree, but remember
The good news is we'll have both attorneys at the table with Wildlands Trust tomorrow to work out the details.
yeah, the only concern I have though, Carlton, is let's see, hold on a second, let me go back to that. Was the CR submitted after the change to lot B or before the change?
No, it was submitted before and the state came back and said the plot lines were not right, and so it was submitted later.
So the 71.79 was adjusted after the Form A was modified, correct?
I think it's always been 71.79.
Carlton, can you take out that same line we're just on where it says state approved conservation restriction, where the state hasn't approved it yet, just say for a state conservation restriction, take out the word approved.
Well, if basically what that's saying is the conservation restriction has to be approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hold on, let me just read it. Okay, I get it. Yep. Okay, that's fine.
And, you know, it's up, so are we reasonably satisfied with how it reads now? I don't have a
Yeah,
problem.
I'm fine. And I was wrong. The application does say 71.79, so we're good.
Okay,
Thank
one
you.
thing, Carlton, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th row from the bottom, just put a D on the reimburse. Right there, right to the left. Yep. Perfect. Any other discussion from CPC, folks?
So hold on one second. Let me see.
Would somebody make an emotion to amend it as modified, please?
So I'll make a motion to amend it as modified.
I'll second it.
Second that. Thank you, Jeff.
So that's as amended, correct?
And for the
We
record,
need a roll call.
Right, I'm just,
before we do the roll call, and for the record, some of this language we've talked about will be included in the order that the town manager's office puts together.
correct. And like after the meeting tomorrow, before I send it to the council, if there's any changes to anything.
Well, good news for you, Gina, the council meeting is until April 8th, so you have some extra time.
That's good. That's good. I like extra time. Okay, just so we have our final and complete version of everything before it goes to the council. Okay, any more discussion on the motion as amended?
We have to take a vote on the amendment, Gina.
Right. Just looking to see if there's discussion on the amendment. Okay. Josh, roll call vote on the amendment.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Great. Okay. Now a roll call vote on the motion itself as amended.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Great. Thank you so much to
And Carlton, thank you for doing that too. I mean, I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just feel like where they're still meeting on this and things may to be tweaked a little bit and finance may not do it exactly that way by taking it out of capital. I just think we want to give them a little bit of flexibility. So that's all. That's all.
I agree.
Have I stopped sharing? That's my biggest struggle is,
Yeah. You can-
Yep.
Yeah, I
stopped
stopped it for you.
thank you.
That's good.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Okay,
thank you, Pat.
Welcome. Before we move on, as I
Moving on
said,
to-
it's been a 3-year process. I want to thank the Hansons, CPC members, Open Space, current town manager, acting town manager, Blythe Robinson, former town manager, Michael Dutton, Josh for all his hard work and revisions for typing everything, and whoever else was involved. Just want to say thank you. I think it's,
Congratulations, everybody.
yes, thank
Great
you.
move forward.
Thank you. Personally, I think it's a great move for the town, and I do thank everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
And David and Bob.
Yep, thank you, David and Bob.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Blythe, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, moving on to old business B, eligibility forms approved. We have an approved couple meetings ago. We approved eligibility for the multi-functional fields behind the current middle school, old high school. We're just waiting for the application on that. Pat and Carlton and I spoke with Parks and Rec about what needs to be done, and Parks and Rec is working on the application, so we anticipate that hopefully the next meeting. Project updates, projects in process, Styles and Hart. We kind of touched on that before. There's still work to be done. The landlocked parcel is still an issue. I've left a message for Pat Brennan, who's the engineer, to see if he'll meet with Carlton and myself, and if anybody else is interested, to see what's left to be done for the project. We know that final entrance closer opposite the cleaners closest to the river is where the landlocked parcel is. So I know that part still needs to be done. But hopefully we get to talk to Mr. Brennan and see what needs to be done in time schedule. And we talked about the reimbursement as soon as the state approves the work done. Questions on Styles and Hart? Okay, Hemlock Drive window replacement, Carlton.
Yeah, I attended the kickoff meeting and the project's underway. We have requested, and hopefully the signage that recognizes CPA funding for that has been moved to the site. We have received the first reimbursement invoice request, and that was for something like $57,000, which has been forwarded to the town for payment. We had to work out a couple of procedural issues, but that project is underway, and I anticipate meeting again with them in the next month.
Great, thank you. Path and Run freeze. As I said before, when we talked about finances, the council approved the additional $4,600 to make the walls structurally sound for the freeze to be installed, and hopefully that's done soon so we can see them actually up there. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Okay, Samuel Edson book. The council 2 meetings ago did a first reading, actually 3 meetings ago, then it wasn't on the next agenda. I'm sorry, 2 meetings ago. The reason was when it was referred to the finance committee, they had questions. So they asked Carlton and I to go to the meeting. We went Monday, answered their questions, and they voted to approve it, recommend it, whichever phrase they use. So that should go to the council at their next meeting, which according to Blythe is April 8th. Anything to add for that, Carlton?
No, there were some really fantastic questions. It was one of the better. I think it's the first time the CPC has been asked to come before the FinCom to actually defend or promote our recommendations. It was very good a conversation, and we answered a number of questions and on the provenance of the book and the history of the book, that kind of thing. And we're moving forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If anybody, CPC people, have any questions or comments at all, feel free to jump in I don't want to make it sound like we're like taking over everybody's voice. We like to hear comments from folks or discussion. Next, townhouse interior historical architect assessment. That's a mouthful. Carlton,
Yeah, we voted a meeting or two ago to use administrative funds to get a report on the townhouse interior, the historical elements. That particular procurement request was sent to the acting town manager. She has indicated that right now, because it's budget season, we need to probably wait for a little bit before that because of the busyness that's going on. So that money needs to be, if it doesn't happen, get encumbered this by the town before the fiscal year ends, we're going to have to carry that over so we don't lose the money actually, or have it change back to its the undesignated fund. So that's a piece of work that's still pending. Sorry to struggle.
thank you. Okay, F, section D, I'm sorry. Project updates, completed projects, Broad Street properties. I think, Josh, should we have a final report for that?
Were we still waiting on the filing of the conservation restriction for that?
Okay,
Oh, I can update you. I apologize. I did when I talked with Wildlands Trust, they basically have put the conservation restriction to the state. They're modifying the current restriction that's held to add these two parcels. The state is behind the 8 ball in terms of getting a lot of things done. And so it's up at the state and they're waiting for the response to come back. So we don't have a deed and book yet.
Okay.
Book and deed,
Right.
book and page, excuse me.
okay, great, thank you. Summer Street Mobile Station, as far as what CPC contributed to the project is complete. The design and such as the town, it's not, CPC doesn't have anything to do with that. However,
But we do need a deed restriction.
right, I'm sorry, deed restriction. Good, thank you. And plus, as we've talked about before, payment hasn't been made for the eminent domain taking. It's in the hands of the town attorney, Attorney Rollins. As you mentioned before, the landowner is deceased. There's an issue with the trust that was set up, so the funds have been taken. We voted many meetings ago to have the funds, the encumbrance removed from CPC because it will be paid at some point. Somebody somewhere will be paid. We've asked for it to come back into our account because if for some reason nobody's ever paid for it, which isn't likely, but we wanted to make sure that the funds are returned to us. We've been assured by Laurie Guarini, Finance Director, that if for whatever reason it's not paid, all the funds are the town's portion and the CPC portion are put into a separate account. And if something happens and it's not paid, we will get our funds back. So that's all set.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows that any money that's not used, that's CPA from CPA must be returned to our accounts. That can't be used for other things in town.
Correct. Thank you. Okay. Next, excuse me, rebinding, that's not a hard word to say, but I had a hard time with it. 1894 Death Records book, I believe the final report's in process, right, Josh?
Yeah, I have a note to ask you guys a quick question on that.
Sure.
Did we want to reach out to the current town clerk for anything on that? I don't think I have any pictures of the
I-
after it
I-
was.
I have pictures I can send you.
Okay.
I know I have the new book. I think I have pictures of the old book too, before it was done. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if we could get some before and after, that'd be great for the report, I think.
Great. Okay, thank you. Old State Farm Trail, we had voted the last meeting to accept the final report, return the funds, or actually that had no funds connected to it. But to accept the final report. In the meantime, Carlton has found more information that he can fill us in on for that. We
yeah, I
may
can-
need to rescind our vote, our previous vote, and revote.
But I don't know if you received a copy of the revision, but basically the state has, there's legislation that allows that trail to go in. I've been told that the deed ultimately will be filed, but there is some question about the deed history of the area. So that's been holding up the finalization there. But I'd like to get this report off our agenda. And again, I don't have a copy of the revised report, but basically we went in and edited out to recognize the 2 state legislative steps that were taken. So.
Okay, I think that was part of the agenda packet.
I may have missed it.
I may be thinking that I've seen it a few times, that it wasn't, and I'm just imagining.
Let's just do this. Josh, do you have quick access to that revised report? I know I sent a revision,
Yeah, let me just see if it was in the packet.
but it was track changed.
Oh, you want the what? Do you want the version that was track changed?
Yeah. That
Okay,
would be.
I'd have to take a minute to get.
So
just
we can, if it takes too long, we can delay it till next meeting, but we just like to get it off the agenda.
Nope, I got it right here. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah,
Make
very
sure I did.
quickly, what you see on the lower right is where the trail is. They have a parking lot. It goes to the, down to the south and down to the river with another, I think, parking spot down below. Can you expand it just a little bit more for the text on the second page?
Yeah.
Basically what, okay. Talks about the fact that NRTB delivered $25,000. We funded 1.8 mile hiking trail with a 50-foot Conservation Act under the easement under the acts of 2020, Chapter 177, and the acts of 2022, Chapter 172. That's the state legislative property that enabled that to be done. And the town repaid the town paid, the CPA paid for the cost of the surveys and some engineering that was done. And the rest is just about the state, where we recommended the funding from, and then the state's Division of Capital Asset Management, DCAM, is controlling the contracts and is responsible for filing all documents in Plymouth County deed registries. The trail survey and design work were completed in 2024. So that's just a slight modification that we wanted to redo the approval so we can get it off our agenda.
Great, thank you. We should probably rescind our prior vote.
I move we rescind the previous vote to accept this final report.
We have a second to rescind our
I'll
previous
second
vote.
it. I'll second it.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, any discussion? Carlton reviewed the changes. Any discussion? Hearing none. Josh, roll call.
Ina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
Harry,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is approved.
Great,
Motion to
thank you.
approve, motion to approve the revised draft.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Okay, any discussion? Okay, Josh, roll call.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
Harry,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Great, thank you. Moving on, potential new projects, Jenny Leonard Park, Parks and Rec is still looking at that, hoping that the town or something can be worked out for the access from Oldfield Estates.
You know, I did draft a letter. I'll finish it up tomorrow and get it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
I know I'm late on that, so I owe that to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Carlton had mentioned to me to ask you about, and I didn't because I basically forgot about it till today, about an A&R. Does that make sense?
Where?
For that parcel for Oldfield Estates?
No, it was created as part of the subdivision approval.
Okay, maybe I just,
Yeah, I mean, there's an A&R across the street that they brought before us to try to modify a drainage basin. Because an abutting property had a fence on the property, but we sent it back to the developer because we didn't know if it complied with our regulations because there were no distances between the drainage basin and the lot line.
okay, great, thank
So
you.
if you heard there was a Form A there in that area, it was right across the street. It had nothing to do with this site, but that parcel was created in the subdivision process. There was a Form A that came in after it because the town always anticipated taking that parcel. And to the point where we made them go back and remove the mailbox and the driveway that was on it. So that was the Form A that was done on that piece.
Mhm.
You know, if it was intended to stay with the homeowners association, we would have never removed that mailbox in that driveway. But the town didn't want to have residents accessing their mailboxes on town-owned land, so we had them Form A the mailbox and the access to the mailbox off.
Okay, great.
Basically, just a quick clarification, a Form A basically allows lot lines to be redrawn. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure what a Form A was. Thank you for the explanation. So as far as Jenny Leonard Park is concerned, Parks and Rec definitely wants to do something with the park. We're kind of waiting to see about access from Oldfield Estates, and plus I've been told by the person who his parents were instrumental many years ago in creating Jenny Leonard Park as a neighborhood park, that there was a small parking area there. I haven't gone by myself to see where it is, but if it's still there, we can clear it. It'll save the needing to have access from the other trails, the other park. Although the piece of land that abuts Jenny Leonard is a good size, and it would definitely enhance Jenny Leonard. Okay, basketball courts, Legion of Scotland Field, Parks and Rec is still looking at that. 3, study a recreational land option for Legion of Scotland Fields. Again, Parks and Rec is still working on that, but I believe from one of our meetings on the focus groups for a 5-year plan, I remember right, Jen Golson said there's grants out there for studies of recreational land, so that's something we need to look into. If anybody has comments or discussion on any of these, again, jump right in. Okay, for restoration of fire departments, Osamaquin hand pump truck. I haven't heard anything since the original inquiry from the former, well, the second inquiry, from the former fire chief on it. So I am going to follow up with him to see if they're still interested. New one that just came up is the windows at the Unitarian Church. I was approached recently that they're looking to have the windows replaced. They're working on putting together a eligibility form. The windows are just plain glass. They have no religious connotation to them at all. Something we need to look at when we get the eligibility, as we always do, if it's maintenance or definitely a CPA funded project. So we hope to have the eligibility form by the next meeting.
Gina, in your discussion with the folks at the Unitarian Church, they need to be reminded that the Historic District Commission holds the preservation restriction for the church, and any changes that they make to windows will have to be approved by us. That is an 18th century, early 19th century church, and we're not going to put replacement windows in that church. So this will be an expensive project if it's done correctly for a church that age, because those windows are wonderful windows.
Okay, I will. The person that had approached me on it, I will remind her of that. And can I have her get in touch with you?
Yes.
Yes. Questions?
Yep.
I think I mentioned that I don't know who held it, but I know there was a restriction on the building.
That we held.
I've forgotten that you guys held it. HDC held it. The other thing is anything they submit would have to pass the three-step process that the state Supreme Court has passed in terms of using CPA funds for churches and other historic parcels. So there is a test that has to be done also.
Right. I had mentioned that to the person that approached me on it. She also mentioned that Middleborough, the Unitarian Church, just replaced their windows. So I asked her to see, because I know they have a pretty active CPC in Middleborough, to see if they use CPA funds, or how they paid for it. She's looking into that too. Might give us some backup. But I did mention to her about the 3-point test. Okay. Anything else on Unitarian Church windows? Okay. Next, the storage building at Legion Field. There's a storage shed. Pat, you probably know it from sports days. It's near the Big Diamond. What we used to, way back, we used to call the Babe Ruth Diamond. It's a decent sized shed. It's probably 55 to 60 years old at least. I'd say more than 60. It's the building inspector has declared it unsafe. I received an eligibility form and from Parks and Rec on it, but at a Parks and Rec meeting, we discussed it more. I asked them to add more information before we actually submit it to the whole CPC, just to help us better make a decision. So that should be coming at some point as well. They had, because it's a building, it's iffy what the CPA allows. They have two options they're looking at. One is to tear it down and rebuild it. The other is to try to restore the current building. So we look forward to that eligibility form. The last thing is the open space plan. Maureen or Carlton can probably talk more about that. The open space and the state, the need for the open space plan.
Maureen, do you want to take that? Basically, go ahead. No, my understanding is the open space plan, the current one is now expiring and you have to
Yes.
update it every 7 years. And the town had applied for a grant last year, I think, Maureen, is that right?
I think in time, yeah.
And
And it hasn't
the
come
state
through.
has not acted on it, is not sure where that's at. And so the communications around that have been that potentially CPA through our administrative funds could support an update of the open space plan. I think we paid a lot for the last one that was done. And the other piece of that is because CPC just put their 5-year plan together. There's a lot of work done already on recreation and open space. And so the question becomes, why reinvent the wheel? And I think there may be an easy way for a contractor or somebody to write it, whether it's in-house or out-of-house, that they could use the CPA language and surveys that we did and incorporate that at a lower cost to the town to get that done, and then add more specific things. For example, the detailed recreation study that we talked about a little bit earlier. So that's up in the air right now. And it's my understanding from Open Space Committee conversations around this is that the plan is still in effect. So we're not at risk for losing the grant money there. Sorry, Maureen, I jumped in
No,
there.
that's perfectly fine.
Now please correct me.
No, you probably stated it better than I could, so that's terrific.
Okay,
Thank you.
so it's something that may be coming to us for funding. Depending on the grant, as Carlton said, Maureen said, their current plan is still in effect.
Yeah, for a little bit more time.
Right, for a tad more.
Yeah.
Okay, new business item G, the FY26 budget needs to be prepared sooner rather than later. We usually have the form to complete. We vote on the budget and submit it back to the finance office. We don't have the FY26 budget form with their predictions yet. Laurie Guarini has told me we should get it sometime this week. So we can put together our tentative budget. If it can wait till our next meeting, fine. If not, if she needs it back sooner, we might have to call a special meeting, just a short meeting for the budget. Anything else for new business brought up by the committee? Okay, liaison reports. I'll start Parks and Rec. I kind of talked about that throughout the meeting, so I have nothing else to add. Let's see, who do we have? Bill Smith, anything for HDC?
Yes, 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the architects and contract managers for the Chase Bank that's going in where the Santander Bank was originally. And we're meeting tomorrow night because we had a lot of questions and changes that we requested in the plans. And so they're coming back tomorrow night for another meeting to bring samples of paint colors and materials. And we had a lot of questions about the handrail and so forth. It's a wonderful building. It was built in 1912.
Wow.
And it's in very good condition. So the Chase Bank will be moving in there probably sometime late summer, early fall.
Okay, now I'm probably dating myself here, but I always thought it was a more or less, not new building now, but probably like when I was in high school or college. I can remember working at the grocery store there and making deposits at Plymouth Home.
Right,
so
I remember that.
Right, so that
Yeah.
building was there when that whole stores where I still call it the A&P parking lot, the Rico's parking lot, the Walgreens, take your pick what you want to call it. When there was that string of stores like Kohl's drugstore. So
That's
bank
before my
building-
time. And I just know the building is from 1912. The
Wow.
architect told us that, and the materials we had on the building corroborated that.
Wow.
Older than I thought.
Me too, because I remember when I was small going like to, it was Kohl's drugstore and it was like a newsstand too. And they were torn down to make the parking lot.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's just my brother. He has a better memory than I do.
But it is in the
Okay.
historic district, so
Right.
that's the reason we have to review all the design changes and so forth and
Good.
approve them.
Good. Thank you. I look forward to something being there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Maureen. Anything for,
Yes, well, it's very, 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 very tentative. We're going to, Eileen Heine and I are going to meet with a realtor regarding the land across from Hanson Farm and next to Murray Needs open space, and to see if there's any sort of possibility of buying that and using it as parking, because there's absolutely no parking for that hiking area that is out and back there, all around the farmland. So it's just extremely tentative. We're just going to meet at the 1st of April and talk to her or him and see what's the situation is.
okay. Let's see. Jeff. Any updates?
Nothing to update. We did not have a meeting this month.
Okay. Let's see. Harry, anything for Concom?
We have our meeting tomorrow night and it's gonna be quick. There's only like 3 things on the agenda.
Great. Okay, how's the new agent?
She's working out very well.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. Glad you finally got an agent. Even part-time, anything is better than nothing. Okay, who did I miss?
Pat.
Pat, anything for planning board that we should know?
Just to Bill's point, we actually approved the Chase Bank the other night. They have some nice improvements they're gonna do downtown, some sidewalk work, new parking lot, lighting, updated landscaping. So I think that'll be a great thing for the for the town. So it's good. I think we also anticipate some downtown projects. I think the friendly site is progressing. So, you know, I would imagine the next couple of months we might see something on that. But
Great.
other than that, it's you know, that's about it.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think that's everyone. Okay. Moving on to item I, upcoming events. Just to remind everyone that the town election is a month away, April 26th. Excuse me, I encourage everyone and to vote and to encourage family and friends and neighbors to vote. It's the first time since we've been on the council form of government that every seat that's on the ballot is contested. So I think it's important that you get out and make your vote be heard or vote count. Anybody else have anything for upcoming events? Okay, public comment. We have a couple public here. Janet, would you like to comment?
No, I don't really have anything to say. I did miss the piece. I kind of walked away, but I heard something about the property across from the triangle next to Needs. What was about parking? What was said about that? I missed the beginning.
Okay, Maureen, do you?
Yes,
Yeah.
that, we're open space and we're going to meet with the realtor because we've understood that, way we understand it is that there have been a couple of people try to buy that property, but it's fallen through because they can't build what they think they could build in there. So we want to check it out and see what the land, if it's appropriate for parking lot for the Murray Needs area. And
Mhm.
well, we're just gonna talk. We're just in the talking phase.
Right, okay. I thought that's a property you were talking about, but I wanted to
Yes.
just. Okay, but nothing else, so we'll wait and see how everything else pans out. Thank you.
Great, thank you for being here tonight. And I'm not a public, but I just want to thank Joanne, who is a student and is on our meeting tonight, that her assignment was to listen to a meeting. Glad she came to our meeting. It was we probably hit more things. The Hanson Farm was a big one. So Joanne, I want to thank you for coming. Do you have any questions at all?
Thank you for having me. Yes, do we make that meeting available to the public?
It's recorded, and
Okay.
tomorrow, it should be sometime tomorrow, put up on YouTube. If you
Oh.
if you search for the Town of Bridgewater Community
Okay.
Preservation, or if you reach out to Josh McGraw, who's our
Okay.
admin, and it's J McGraw at
Okay.
bridgewaterma.org.
Okay.
He can send you the link to the YouTube, right, Josh?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it's
Okay.
it's also on our the town's webpage at the very top. When you go to the webpage, there's a YouTube link that you can just press, and it'll give you access to all of our recorded town meetings.
Oh, okay. Bridgewater resident page?
Not the Bridgewater residence page, the main Bridgewater webpage.
It's not
Okay.
Facebook,
Okay.
it's a web
It's the
page.
town of Bridgewater's page.
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
It's not Facebook, it's a regular web page.
Yeah, there'll be a little
Okay, got it.
a little YouTube link at the top.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you for coming. I hope we that you learned something from us.
I did. Yes, I did.
Great. Thank you
Have
again.
a good night. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Next meeting date is Wednesday, April 23rd. We're still looking into if we can do hybrid or not, but as of right now, we're still virtual. And as I said, if we need the budget before our next meeting in April, we may have to call a special meeting, but I'll keep everybody in the
Yeah,
loop
just
for that.
keep in mind that you might want to check with the town manager's office. The governor's remote, I believe, Josh, ends March 31st. So until they extend that, we're going in person for planning board. So I don't know, do we have to go? Is that true? They haven't extended it yet, right?
Well, so I don't know that they've extended it, but it's essentially up to the towns on how they want to handle it so far. So, and we are, like I've said before, we've talked with BTV, our IT department and everything. We're trying to make it so that we have more than one Zoom room available, because right now we are seeing a lot of overlap with the committees. And we're running into an issue where a couple of committees want to do it in person, and it's whoever schedules first, and kind of leaves out a lot of people, a lot of access. So we're trying to figure that out right now. But right now, if we can, we just offer virtual, as it is kind of the easiest right now.
Can you schedule us for the Wednesday, the 23rd of April at 2:01 just in case?
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
It's up to Gina, but I would
Right.
suggest we get
Yes,
scheduled.
that's good.
And we
Yeah.
want to do so we still do have the either strictly in person or strictly virtual.
So it can't be hybrid.
No, it can't be hybrid right now with because of how short staffed we are. So that would be the only issue.
Okay. Well, maybe that.
Okay, so we'll have to think of that.
TBD.
I'm sorry, Carlton, I think I cut you off.
To be determined.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean,
Okay.
I'm hoping that we get it sorted out soon. We were talking to the IT department and BTV, and we're looking into possibly getting some interns or something that could help with that staffing issue that we're having. So hopefully we have an update by then.
And thanks, Josh. I
Mhm.
think that's important to have the staffing issue, because I know of one board, committee, commission, I'm not gonna say which, that the recordings aren't always there, because I think they're just not recorded right. So I think it's important to have training for, if there can't be a staff person there or an intern, I think it's important to have training to the folks running the meeting if they go virtual.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay, if nothing else, it's at witching hour for item L for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Harry. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion? There's never discussion on adjournment. Okay, Josh, roll call?
Dina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
8:05. Thank you,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Meeting.